In the state of Washington, 62% of the energy produced is from hydroelectric sources. And the number of those installations that are underwater turbines number but 1. That leaves the rest to be either tidal dams or more traditional dams, which are brilliant sources of electricity. They, all across the country, hydroelectric dams are creating good green energy. But green may be a misleading label to place on these installations. For true, they have 0 greenhouse emissions, but they are not extremely eco-friendly. Once you take a pristine environment and you place a tidal dam inside of it, it completely destroys the ecosystem. Water levels change, pressures change, the subaquatic life, it can't survive there anymore. Even the flora and the fauna is forced to adjust, sometimes creating a mass exodus from the area. This is a problem. We've taken a perfectly great area in the name of green energy, and we've destroyed it to reduce greenhouse gases. Aren't we merely accomplishing what we were trying to avoid? There is a better way, I assure you, and the answer is underwater turbines. From our last experiment, we were playing with blade density and blade count, and we found that for different current speeds, you needed to customize your blade to that current. And so for this, we're choosing a target velocity, and we're building our turbine around that speed. And we're definitely scaling it up from last time.
This time, for this test run that we did today, we used a very small blade that we had extra from our last project, though this blade was larger than the ones we used the previous time. The blade that will be printed and put on this will be much larger, with about an 8 to 10 inch radius, and it will be towed on this boat, and this small boat is long enough that it prevents the drag of this turbine from tilting it as we tow it behind the bigger boat at a steady speed of about 2 to 3 knots, which resembles the tidal speed in the Strait of Juan de Fuca.
The testing parameters for this turbine were modeled after the Strait of Juan de Fuca, which reaches a peak speed of about 3 knots and a low speed of about 1 knot. We're going to be testing speeds in this whole range in order to replicate the sinusoidal speed differentiation during the tides as they come in, stop, and go out.
Now currently, we have our meter here, and this is just a simple device to measure the amperage and voltage, and that will allow us to calculate the total amount of power we are receiving from the turbine. We also have a light bulb that's acting as the load, and that will light up at about 10 watts and just let us know when we're starting to reach a good amount of power. Now, you can see here, actually, we have a piece of aerodynamic tubing. Now what this is normally a strut on an aircraft, but we've converted it into a mounting mechanism for our turbine, and what this does is you can see this little piece here, that fits into a pedal kayak mount. Now what we can do is we can fit that into the pedal kayak, mount it, and then tow the pedal kayak behind a boat, and that will allow us to tow it at a relatively constant velocity with about 1/10 of a knot variance,